A student viewed a cell using a light microscope. He used an eyepiece lens with a magnification power of x15 and an objective lens of x20. The specimen appeared to be 3 millimeters long. What is the actual size of the specimen? Alright, so the actual size of the specimen is equals to the observed length divided by the magnification used. Now, we know the observed length, which is 3 millimeters, but the magnification is unknown because they gave us two. They gave us the magnification of the eyepiece and the objective lens. And to find the actual total magnification, you just multiply the magnification of the eyepiece by the magnification of the objective lens. So in this case, it would be 15 times 20. So 15 times 20 would be 300. So now that you have 300, you have to find the actual length. So actual length, which, as I said before, observed length divided by the magnification used would be 3 divided by 300, which is, it should be 0 point something. 0.01. So 0.01 millimeters. Okay, 2 diagrams of leaf epidermal cells were drawn below by students. Choose the correct answers to complete the paragraph below. Okay, diagram B, the second one. Okay, the drawing has an incomplete title. Yeah, it doesn't have a title, as in it doesn't say what this structure or what this drawing is. Some structures were colored and the lines are not neat. The size of the drawing is small with respect to the space provided for the drawing. The drawing lacks labels, however, it does specify the correct magnification. So these are just general observations about the drawing itself. And diagram A, the first one, the drawing has a title that is not completely representative. They actually both don't have an actual title. The lines of the drawing are clear and distinctive. Moreover, the drawing is as big as the space allows. However, the specified magnification is incorrect. Also, the drawing lacks labels. So basically, for this question, you just try your best to complete the sentence by what you think is logical. I mean, you just observe the drawings and then just finish the sentences. Okay, drag and drop the correct specialized cells that correspond to each of the following characteristics. Biconcave cells that lack a nucleus. Red blood cells. No, I'm not really good at drawing, but red blood cells are generally kind of like this weird circle shape. So this shape is called a biconcave shape. So the shape of red blood cells is called biconcave. So biconcave cells that lack a nucleus, red blood cells. And also they lack a nucleus and other organelles because they need more space to carry the oxygen molecules from one place to another within the body. Cells in the human body that possess contractile fibers, muscle cells. Yes, muscle cells contain these contractile fibers. And since I don't think I could draw that, I'll try to find a photo. Here. Now, generally, they have contractile fibers, and it's pretty simple. Here, there we go. This is the one I was looking for. So this is generally what they look like. They have filaments, and which are also kind of fibers that helps it contract, or is the reason why it contracts. So contractile fibers. Plant cells that possess tube-like outgrowths that increase surface area would be root hair cells. And basically that's what actually forms the root itself. So there. That's a root hair cell. And yeah. There. Oh, sorry. Here. It's also a good photo. And then here, plant cells that are dead and hollow, xylem vessels. Xylem vessels, I believe, are what? Wait, let's see. Yeah, we don't really study what a xylem vessel looks like, but you just have to memorize that it's just something in the plant cell that is dead and hollow and mostly used for there. So hollow continuous tubes formed from dead plant cells that transport water and minerals from the roots to the rest of the plants. So there you have it. Okay, next question. So this is a photo of a nerve cell, or also known as neuron, and which structure sends the signals to tissue to tissues and organs. So they send signals from E, the bottom, and then the top is where the cells, so here A, the top, these things are what receives the message from the neuron before it. E is what gives it to the next neuron, or gives it to the organelle tissue. And then here, so which structure receives signals from other cells? A. Which structure contains the cytoplasm? Oh, sorry, but what I was trying to look for was the part that actually makes the message is the cell body. So this part. Yeah. So which structure contains the cytoplasm, the nucleus, the mitochondria, and other organelles? B, which is the cell body. Also, these are called dendrites. These are called axon, or AXON terminals. And then this is called axon. And right, like I said, B is the cell body. And yeah. Liver cells are adapted to carry out activities such as breaking down toxic substances. These activities require a lot of energy, so liver cells have numerous mitochondria. Basically, the more energy something or a cell needs, the more mitochondria it will have. And the more active it is, and the more activities, and the more energy that it needs, the more active the cell is, and the more activities it does, or the harder the activity it does, the more energy it needs. Drag and drop the correct answers. Okay. The cytoplasm of an egg cell is rich in nutrients. the male reproductive cell is called the sperm, yes, and then for female it's called egg cells. Then in the male reproductive cell, the head contains the genetic material, yes, in the male reproductive cell, the tail propels the cell and helps it swim through the female reproductive system. So here, sperm cell, images. Here, this would be a sperm cell, which when intercourse happens, it is transported through the female reproductive system to reach the egg cell, and when one of them or two of them reaches the egg cell, the reproduction will happen, and there will be, I think it's called zygote formation. So yeah. Then the fusion of one egg with one sperm cell results in fertilization and zygote formation. Gametes are called haploid cells. Gametes are the egg cells and sperm cells, and gametes are haploid cells because they only have 23 chromosomes rather than how much they should have, which is double the amount of 23, which is 46. So they have half the amount of chromosomes needed to survive, when they are on their own. So yeah. What type of plant cells are vertically elongated cells with numerous chloroplasts and form the main photosynthetic surface of the leaf? Palisade mesophyll cell. Palisade mesophyll cells are the cells that are on the surface of the leaf and are the cells where most of the photosynthesis actually happens. So, yeah. Smooth muscle cells have a concentration of contractile fibers which enables the cell to contract and move along the guts. There are 3 different types of muscle cells. Smooth muscle cells, and there is 2 others. So, here, let me just... No, sorry. Muscle cells. 3 types: smooth muscle cells, skeletal muscles, and cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles are surrounding the heart, smooth muscles are surrounding other organs, and skeletal muscles surround the skeletal system, and skeletons and bones. And red blood cells have flexible cell membrane and the cytoplasm without a nucleus and other organelles, so that it has more space available for hemoglobin to carry oxygen. The cells are biconcave in shape, resulting in a larger surface area for oxygen exchange. These are all just general facts that you should know about red blood cells. And yeah, ciliated cells ciliated cells in the respiratory tract have tiny hairs on the outer surface. They flick continuously, so mucus carrying dirt and bacteria is moved away from the lungs. So basically, ciliated cells or cilia cells are cells that have little hairs, and its only job is to make sure that the mucus within the trachea or respiratory tract does not go inside of the lungs, because if it does, that's bad for the lungs, because the mucus is what stops dirt and bacteria from going inside of the lungs. So if the mucus goes inside of the lungs, so would the bacteria and the dirt, which is very bad for your lungs. Sorry. Cell specialization is the process by which a cell becomes adapted to do one particular job. Neurons are specialized for the transmission of messages, also called signals or nerve impulses. Within the body, the dendrites receive signals from other cells and conduct them to the cell body, which contains the cytoplasm, the nucleus, mitochondria, and other organelles. The cell body conducts the messages to the axon, which in turn sends the nerve impulses to the terminals. These in turn send the signals to the cell bodies of other nerve cells or to tissues and organs. So here, nerve cell. So there. Like I said before, the dendrites, these things, are what receive the message from other cells, which then goes through the cell body, through the axon, and goes out in the nerve endings or the axon terminals into the next cell or into the tissue and organ that it's sending the message to. And then here, didn't label it here, but these things in the end are the axon terminals. This is the cell body, which contains the organelles and is where the message is conducted. And then that's it. So this is a neuron or a nerve cell. Next, the structure of a sperm cell helps it carry out its functions. It has a head that contains genetic material, a middle body that supplies the energy needed, and a tail that propels the sperm cell and helps it swim through the female reproductive system to the ovum. So this is a general summary of sperm cells and how they work. Xylem cells are dead and hollow, meaning they have no cell membrane, cytoplasm, or nucleus, and this allows them to transport water. Also, their cell wall contains lignin, which helps provide support for the plant, or helps it keep its shape. And root hair cells. Xylem cells are used they're used in the plant to keep the shape of the cell because it has lignin in their cell wall, and to transport water throughout the plant. And root hair cells have tiny tube-like outgrowths from the cells to increase their surface area for the uptake of water and mineral salts. This is something that we saw before. It's what absorbs all the water and the nutrients needed for the cell, or I guess mineral salts instead of nutrients. Indicate the level of cellular organization described in each case below. Smallest living part of an organism that can carry out processes necessary for life, cells. Group of organs, whenever it's the smallest or basic part of an organism, it's a cell. Whenever it's a group of organs, it's an organ system. Whenever it's a group of cells, it's a tissue. And whenever it's a group of tissues, it's an organ. Here you have to memorize what each one is. A leaf is counted as an organ, or is an organ, I guess. Xylem is a tissue, and shoot is a system. The shoot system is in plant cells. A nerve cell is a cell. The stomach is an organ. The phloem is a tissue. I personally googled that one. I don't remember reading that in the book, but apparently the phloem is a tissue. The shoot system is an organ system, and a human is obviously an organism. And then the others are also easy. So like nerve cell and stomach, pretty obvious. Fill in the blanks with the levels of cellular organization in the correct order, starting with the most inclusive. Now, I originally got this wrong the first time because I thought they wanted smallest to biggest, so you have to be careful on whether they want smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest. So if it's inclusive, they want biggest to smallest. So, organ system, an organism is made of multiple organ systems. Organ systems are made of multiple organs. Organs are made of multiple tissues, and tissues are made of multiple cells. A group of specialized cells with similar structures that work together to perform a specific function is a tissue. A group of organs with related functions that work together to perform specific body processes is an organ system. Okay. Classify the following examples as tissue, organ, or organ system. So these ones you have to memorize them. So a xylem is a tissue, a heart is an organ, a root is an organ, a gut, alimentary canal, is an organ system because it's the whole gut, and that's not an organism, so it's a group of organs. It's not an organ, it's a group of organs. Lungs are organs, and livers are organs as well. The smooth ER is involved in the synthesis of lipids. So if it's the synthesis of lipids, it's the smooth ER. If it's the synthesis of proteins, it's either the rough ER or the ribosomes. For this question, generally the site is ribosomes, but ER have ribosomes, which is why they do protein synthesis. But ribosomes themselves are the ones that actually do the synthesis, the protein synthesis. Then the produced molecules are packaged in vesicles in the Golgi apparatus to be transported to their target sites. So basically, the molecules that are produced after protein synthesis or after synthesis in general are sent to the Golgi apparatus when they're not being used just yet, or they're sent to vesicles, which is in the Golgi apparatus, before they are transported to the target site or where they're going to be used. Now, cell walls are fully permeable, provides extra support, and they're thick and tough. While cell membranes are present in animal cells, they're present in many cells, but this specific one, in this specific question, they're saying it's present in animal cells. It is directly surrounding the cytoplasm, and they are also called plasma membranes. The nucleus regulates all cell activities by controlling the type and quantity of the enzymes produced in the cytoplasm. So the nucleus regulates all cell activities by controlling the type and quantity of... The enzymes are the ones that really do most of the cell activities. So the nucleus is able to regulate all the cell activities by controlling what type and how many enzymes are produced. Red blood cells lack a nucleus, which means that they cannot divide because nuclei or the nucleus is where cell division occurs, or how Like without a cell, without a nucleus, the cell cannot go through cell division, basically. The genetic information is stored within the nucleus in the chromosomes. So yeah. Here, oh, this is complicated. So a palisade cell is a type of plant cell found in leaves. A liver cell is an animal cell. Identify the structures present in each type of cell by completing the table below. Nucleus. The way I would memorize this is that everything except for glycogen granules and lysosomes are present in plant cells, but in animal cells, cell walls, what else? Starch grains and chloroplasts are not present, but everything else is. The above is a simplified diagram of a prokaryote. The circular DNA can be seen suspended in the cytoplasm and is not enclosed in a nucleus. Ribosomes, which are the site of protein synthesis, can be seen as they are not membrane-bound organelles. The way I would memorize this is that eukaryotic or eukaryote or a eukaryotic cell is like animal cells. They have many organelles and they generally don't and they have a membrane. So an example of a eukaryotic cell would be an animal cell, but an example of a prokaryotic cell would be a bacteria cell. So that might be able to help you figure out what a prokaryotic cell has and doesn't have, and what a eukaryotic cell has and doesn't have. But generally speaking, prokaryotic cells don't have a lot of organelles like nuclei and a bunch of others, but they do have ribosomes, and also they don't have membranes, but they do have cell wall. They do have a cell wall, and apparently they have circular DNA. So those are just a few facts about eukaryotic cells. And then in the cell diagram above could not be a prokaryotic cell. A prokaryote or prokaryotic cell is the same thing, as it contains mitochondria, which are membrane-bound organelles that releases energy. So yeah, one of the organelles that they are missing is mitochondria. And the way to know whether they're asking about like mitochondria in the second blank here is just they are like, generally speaking, a mitochondria is what releases energy. Therefore, it's therefore here they want mitochondria. If that makes sense, I hope it does. Oh, sorry. So basically, here they're asking for, like they said, which are membrane-bound organelles that releases energy. So logically, it's a mitochondria. Identify the function of the below cells and how each cell is adapted to carry out its function. Drag and drop the terms. Cells. Red blood cells generally transport oxygen, and they do this because they lack a nucleus and many organelles, which gives them more room to carry said oxygen. Muscle cells push food along the gut using high contraction of contractile fibers. Ciliated cells of the respiratory tract propel mucus upwards because of the extension of cilia from the cell's outer surface. Root hair cells absorb water and minerals because they have tiny tube-like outgrowths which do so. Now here, The drawing below represents a transverse or cross section through a blood capillary. The diameter of this capillary is measured from the drawing was found to be 2 centimeters. Alright, consider the actual length of the drawing is 20 micrometers. What is the magnification of this drawing? Considering the fact that one of them has the unit of centimeters and the other has a unit of micrometers, we would have to change it to centimeters, which would be 10 to the power of, so we would divide it by 10 to the power of 4. So we would be dividing it by 10,000, right? Yeah. Here, so to go from micrometer to centimeters, so we could change it from centimeters to micrometers, which would mean we'd have to multiply it by 10,000. So 2 times 10,000 to get 2 centimeters in micrometers would be 20,000 micrometers. Now, consider the actual length. Now, here they said that the diameter of this capillary, so basically the actual length was 2 centimeters. That was really bad, 2 centimeters, but you know what I mean. So, consider the actual length of the drawing is 20 micrometers. What is the magnification of this drawing? The magnification is equals to the size of the image times the size of, or like the actual size. So basically it would be the size of the image, which is not times, did I say times? Sorry, divided by. So 20,000 divided by 20 would be 1,000. Right? Yeah. So the magnification is 1,000. Consider that this drawing has a 100x magnification. What is the actual size? The actual size is equals to the observed length divided by the magnification. So, in other words, 20,000 divided by the magnification, how much was it? 100. So it would be 200. Here we have to use the conversion, I think it's called. But basically you just have to change the units. So from millimeters to micrometers is multiply by 1,000. From micrometer to millimeter you have to divide by 1,000. Or 10 to the power of 3, so then it would be times 10 to the power of negative 3. So, and then from millimeters to micrometers times 1,000, from micrometers to millimeters is divided by 1,000. So here to find the answer, for the last one to find the answer, you just do this times 1,000, because from millimeters to micrometers. Next, magnification equals to observed size of image divided by the actual size. That's the formula we've been using the whole time. And here, a cell which has a diameter of 24 micrometers, meaning that its actual length is 24 micrometers, is viewed through a microscope as having a diameter of 4.8 millimeters, meaning that its observed length is 4.8 millimeters. Underline the correct magnification. The first thing you have to do is change the units so that they'll be the same. So 4.8 times 1,000 would be 4,800. So, which is the observed length, divided by the actual size, which is 24. So, 4,800 divided by 24. 200. So 200x is the magnification. Okay, the picture below shows a structure present in the roots of plants. What is the name of this structure? Root hair, right? I think you just have to memorize that. So the name of the structure itself, not the cell, like the structure, this thing, is a root hair. What is the function of the structure? To absorb water and minerals needed for the plant survival, or just the absorption of water and minerals. How does this structure help roots perform their functions? It helps by increasing the surface area, increasing the rate of diffusion through its thin cell wall and cytoplasm, and by storing the absorbed water and minerals in its large vacuole. So these three you have to memorize so that you can be able to answer it in the exam. But yeah, that's it. So that's the chapter 1 online quiz.